Yeah, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We are so glad that you guys are always tuning in. Man, it's so good to have you. My name's Josue, and this is the Sway Bar Podcast. This is a podcast that's dedicated to your personal growth. Our desire is that you grow to be all that God has created you to be. And the way we do that is by sharing, messages with you guys on our segments, Monday Messages. We also do our Wednesday's Word from the Wise, where I get to sit down with pretty cool guests and glean from them, learn from them, and really just draw from their experience. Today, I'm super excited to continue with our series, Progressing Forward with Proverbs. Yep, that's right. This month we're unpacking Proverbs chapter 31, and we're pulling the principles of what can allow us or help us progress forward. It all started out with this question that I heard someone ask, and it struck me deep in my heart. And the question was, am I someone worth following? I know a lot of you guys were answering and pondering that question last week, but man, as we look at Proverbs, again, I'm not looking for us to be perfect. I'm not looking for us to be, exactly perfect. But what we do want to see in our life is progress that's pushing us forward, that we're making those growth moves and those growth changes. So I encourage you guys, this is part 2. If you haven't listened to part 1, go check that out. It is available for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in to Proverbs chapter 31, and we're going to start in verse 4 through 5. And it says this, it says, "It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to guzzle wine, nor for princes intoxicating drink." Verse 5, "Lest they drink and forget the law." All right. So, man, the wisdom that's brought out here is right away comes really quick to not being distracted by, and this particular portion is alcohol abuse. And why is because when you get intoxicated or you get drunk, you're going to forget the lawful things or the things that the Lord has given you. In this sense, it's written to a king, so kings shouldn't crave that. Anyone who's in rulership, just because you can overdose or you can get, drunk and you can get distracted, you can miss out on the key principles of the law and upholding, righteousness. I know even for myself, I can look back at times where I've abused alcohol, and man, it wrecked me, or my mind wasn't in the full cognitive understanding that it should have been, and I've done stupid things, said stupid things. But I'm telling you, if we're going to operate or we're going to progress forward, we can't allow ourselves to fall into those traps. The thing is that the Lord, He loves us, man, and He loves us where we're at. But man, if you're struggling with addiction, and that can be to anything, it doesn't have to be alcohol. Some people are addicted to Xbox. Some people are addicted to pornography. There's so many different things that are distracting us or pulling us away that is rotting our minds. And so if you're facing that, if you are being challenged with those things, then what we have to do is renew our mind. Remember, this whole letter in Proverbs chapter 31, one of the things that we're pulling from this is preparing ourselves for relationships. And so if you're someone who's struggling with addiction or falling into those traps, man, I encourage you to get the help that you need. And I think there's tons of programs out there that are helpful and phenomenal things. But the ultimate thing that's going to help you is Jesus. It's Jesus. Because when you get in a relationship with someone, those addictions don't magically disappear. They don't go away. They are there with you unless you have dealt with them. Now, I want to continue on because I believe there's more points in here of why we fall into this trap or why we go there. But it continues on in verse 7. It says, "Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more." Verse 6, coming back, "Give strong drink to him who is perishing and wine to those who are bitter of heart." Verse 7, "Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more." So I love in the New Living Translation, it says that alcohol is for those who are in bitter distress, right? And again, in this place, alcohol may not even be your thing. That may not be a thing you're struggling with, but maybe it's something else. And my question to you is, when you are in bitter distress, where do you turn to? Where do you turn to when you are in bitter distress? When you're being pulled on left and right, when challenges are coming at you, when people are talking bad about you, when it feels like your whole world is caving in, where do you turn to? Some people turn to alcohol. Some people turn to Xbox. Some people shut off. They just shut themselves off. And to get to this place of not caring. But what's interesting to this is powerful as we read through this. King Samuel's mom is warning him, like, man, don't fall into this trap. Don't fall into this trap. Those things are what people who are in distress, people who are in poverty, people who are miserable, that's what they turn to. That's their vice. And it's kind of like, well, is it just people who are impoverished or misery? Are they the only ones that turn to this? I think the point or the heart of what this message is saying is that, people get stuck there because, let me give you an example, for like losing weight, right? Maybe and I've been like this before, where, you eat, and then you start looking yourself in the mirror and you start realizing, like, man, there's something that needs to change, and you go work out or you go try something, and then maybe you're discouraged because you're not seeing the progress that you want. So what do? You go back and you go stress eat, right? Those are those things. And see, even eating can be one of those things. What are those things out there when you're stressed out that you turn to? If we want to progress forward, then we got to know that when our body and our mind starts getting stressed out, we got to see, what are we looking towards? What are we looking towards? Most people will look to a distraction. It can be alcohol. Maybe it's not that extreme. Maybe it's gossiping to your friends. Maybe it's just sitting down and watching TV then. I'm just distracting my mind. What is it that you're turning to when you are in deep distress? I believe if we're going to progress forward, we've got to take a chapter from Jesus' book and do exactly what he did when he was in deep distress. I want you to turn to John chapter 11, verse 35. This is powerful. One of the shortest verses here. I can just say it, but I want to point here because there's more that I want us to read after John chapter 11, verse 35. And this is powerful. John chapter 11, verse 35. And it says this. You ready? It's what you call heavy revy, okay? This is nuts. Jesus wept. That's right. We'll drop the mic. We can go home. Man, we can call it good. No, Jesus wept. John chapter 11, verse 35. When he was in distress, what happened? In context of this, Lazarus just died. He was reported dead. And when he came to the tomb, people were already tripping on him because it's like, Jesus, you're late. Like, oh my gosh, like, do something. And when he saw that Lazarus was dead, at verse 35, it says Jesus wept. Nuts. Crazy. Now, it doesn't stop there, though. And that's the cool part. Verse 36. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. And some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind also have kept this man from dying? Verse 38. Then Jesus, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave and a stone laid against it. Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he's been dead for 4 days. Verse 40. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? Wow. Man, something crazy is about to happen, right? Verse 41, then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was laying, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. Now when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he who had died came out bound, hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. Wow. Listen, we can just read past that. We can read that and say, oh, man, that's so cool. Like, oh, gosh. But man, Jesus, even Jesus faced bitter distress. And here's the deal. When our emotions rise, it's all right. It's okay to cry. But why would we cry and retreat? Why would, man, I'm working with people and maybe they got me stressed out. Why would I cry and retreat to alcohol? Why would I cry and retreat to gossiping to others? Why would I cry and retreat to just binge watching TV? Man, why would I cry and quit? No, come on, guys. No, if we're going to progress forward, it's okay to cry. It's just not okay to quit. Look at what Jesus did. He wept. Jesus wept. But then he progressed forward. He progressed forward. And brothers and sisters, that's what did he do? He turned to prayer. He came to God. He thanked him. He thanked him because he understood that God heard him. I want to encourage you guys today, when stress is coming on you, don't turn to alcohol. Don't turn to gossip. Don't turn to pornography. Don't turn to the traps of the enemy. Don't turn to gossiping. Man, why retreat from the hard thing? Why not press forward? King David, he went through the same thing, right? They had just got back from battle, him and his men, and all of their wives and kids were kidnapped. All their wives and kids were kidnapped when they came back. And everyone was upset with David, man. They wanted to stone him. What did David do? And he cried out to the Lord. See, man, a lot of us, if we have stress like that, or people wanting to kill us, or, we're probably not even facing that, but man, we have so much, opposition against us, man. We want to retreat to alcohol, retreat to porn, retreat to gossiping, retreat to all these different things. But man, let us retreat to Jesus. Because here's the thing about retreating, and I just learned this. Retreat isn't necessarily a bad term. Retreat is saying I'm going to step back from the situation, regroup myself, and press forward. See, but when you retreat to alcohol, what happens? You get drunk, you're calming your body, right? Your flesh, whatever. But then as you progress forward, you're not progressing forward in a healthy manner. You're progressing in a way of just forgetting about it, not dealing with it. Sometimes people have retreated backwards, and man, their progression isn't even going forward. It's progressing backwards. But see, when we can retreat into Jesus, and that's what David did, right? He stirred himself up. He encouraged himself. He got before the Lord. And there has been times, guys, where even for myself, I've retreated and maybe I fell into an abuse, or I've done something wrong, or I didn't retreat a healthy way. But man, so many times when I've come back to encounter Jesus, he didn't judge me for those mistakes. He didn't judge me for missing it. He didn't judge me for my misretreat. But he embraced me like the Father embraced the prodigal son, and he helped me progress forward. So what I want to say to you guys, those who are heavily laden and heavily burdened, those who are being pressed against every side, you may have retreated to the wrong things. You may have abused alcohol. Who cares? You may have, fell into porn. Who cares? You may have, been gossiping around. Who cares? I'm just telling you right now, that the Father is here for you. And he's saying, come here. Cast all your cares to me because I care for you. Allow me to empower you with grace so we can progress forward. Those who are listening to the sound of my voice, you're royalty. You're God's children. Why retreat to obstacles and illusions that will not help you? But why don't we come to God, get re-strengthened, and progress forward? So my 3-minute challenge for you guys today is I want you to ask yourself this question. What challenges am I retreating from? It may be something that you're dealing with at work. It may be something that, you're dealing with a heart issue. Maybe it's a relationship deal. Maybe it's a place of life that you're not proud of. Maybe you're not where you want to be. And because of that, you get discouraged and you're retreating to these illusions. Whatever that is, I want you to write it down. And I want you to say, Lord, I give this to you. Write it on a piece of paper. Write it on a piece of paper. Whatever your challenge is causing you distress, whatever challenge is causing you to retreat to these illusions, these obstacles, write it down and say, God, I give this to you. And then crumble that paper up and throw it in the trash. And leave it with the Lord. Do like Jesus. It's okay to cry. Man, if you're going through something, you need prayer, reach out. I'd love to pray with you. If you're going through challenges or pain, it's okay to cry. It's just not okay to quit. Jesus wept, but then he progressed forward and said, Lazarus, get up. Look at your problem and speak life into that thing. But don't retreat. Don't retreat. Man, thank you guys for tuning in. You're a blessing. Peace.